Howdy folks, forgive me that I said that part 4 would be my last video. This is actually going to be a part 5, and this will actually be my very last one, but this is going to be a much shorter version. So as you can see, I was just in the water just a moment ago, and I gotta tell you something, like, if you swim in this water right now, like the way how it is, you have to know what you're doing. Because as I was swimming on my way back, towards the coastline, I really felt a strong longshore current, which is basically a current that runs directly parallel to the coastline. So just keep that in mind. Like, if any of you want to swim in these types of conditions, just be aware of what kind of currents you'll face. Because even being someone who's like 195, it was dragging me around as if it were nothing. The funny thing is, when I was in the water too, I was like, referring to Lieutenant Dan, like, you call this a storm? And, I was just saying stuff like, you'll never sink this man. Instead he says boat, but I said man. And then, yeah, me, I can goof off sometimes. But with that being said, with the water being in this type of condition, this is actually a good thing. You may be wondering why. Well, many of you know that red tide is indeed a well-known common feature in Florida. But with that being said, when the water really has a chance to experience plenty of turbulence, there's an opportunity that the red tide has a way to get out of here and move either offshore or further down south. It's a two-way street. And with that too, that actually allows sediments to be suspended, yes, but to also move to new areas. But you have to think too, all this sand and seashells that are on this beach here, you have to think, like, a lot of this sand comes from eroded mountains over time. I mean, think about it. We have the Appalachian Mountains, the Ozarks, the Ouachitas, even the Rocky Mountains, too. You figure with storms that happen and any new soil formation, rock breaks down over time. And eventually, it doesn't immediately turn into sand. There's varying sizes of rocks. It can be from boulders to cobbles to pebbles and then to sand. And then it can get even smaller too. But you figure, like, with all the saltation, that's not referring to salt, that's referring to the bouncing of sediments in a body of water that essentially breaks down those rocks even more over time. It becomes smaller and smaller and smaller. So once it has a chance to travel through the various rivers that are in the United States, it all eventually makes its way to the Mississippi River, and then it will make its way into the Gulf. So the Gulf is essentially one big central hub for all of our rivers, especially that are in the East Coast and the Midwest. So it's all interconnected, as it were. Think of the river as like sort of a throat to the Earth's body, and the Gulf is kind of like the stomach. I know that's a silly analogy, but that's how I like to think of it. But yeah, so you can definitely see there's plenty of sea foam in the swash. So there's a swash, and there's always a backwash. The backwash refers to the water going back into the water, or the Gulf, more or less. Wow. This is another gorgeous day. It just really reminds me, you know, with how murky it is and how salty it is right now. It just reminds me so much of the Atlantic. Because normally the Atlantic, this is how powerful it is. Same thing with the Pacific that I visited in Costa Rica. Good time to reminisce. I felt like I kinda didn't keep this short, like I promised. Forgive me. But you know how it is. It was a gorgeous day, so I just had plenty of wisdom to share, right? So, alright you guys, enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and then let's kick this week's butt. Yeah, just to keep it appropriate for the kids. So, alright. Take care, you guys. And once again, Dirty on a Journey is outwards. Take care, folks. See ya.